Hello, I'm PDYX.
And I'm AntKeepsGaming, and welcome to Playing It Wrong, the show where we play random online Nintendo games and talk about them.
That's right, each episode we're going to take one random NES game and one random SNES game from the games available on the NSO service on the Nintendo Switch, and we're going to play them for at least 30 minutes each and talk about our opinions of those games.
Playing It Wrong, episode 17.
All right, it's week 17, and for week 17, we played Ghosts and Goblins on the NES app and Kirby's Dream Course on the SNES app. How are you doing, Ant, and how was this week for you?
Yeah, not too bad. I think one of these weeks is just like an okay week again. And I'm sorry to keep saying it. It's just some of these games are like, you go back and you play these really old games and they're just like hard. There's hardly any, I would say, that are enjoyable. So this is why it's just like okay. And some are just like really just bad games in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Another week that's kind of split, I feel like. A little bit. I mean, though, like you said, the word hard comes to mind for both of these, but a different level of hard.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so this was an interesting week. I think we'll start with Ghosts and Goblins, which is on the NES app. Ghosts and Goblins, a 1985 arcade game that then came out on the NES, obviously, later the next year in 1986. So this is an old one. And it shows, and it was originally an arcade game that's just kind of ported over to the NES, and that shows as well. Because I feel like, oh man, it's a Capcom game, side-scrolling 2D. You play as like a knight. Probably most people listening to this know what Ghosts and Goblins is, but a knight who fights lots of, ghosts and goblins, right?
And
you throw kind of like you throw things, right? Like daggers. I don't know.
I was going to say probably the most weirdest way to throw like a lance, but then I've never thrown a lance, so I'm not.
Yeah, aren't lances not for throwing? But in this game they are, I guess.
Just more for impaling than throwing. But there we go.
Yeah. But well, I don't know. How about this? We usually like to start with how far we got into the game, how long we played it. Kind of. What about you, Ant? How long did you stick around with this game, and roughly how far did you make it?
I think about 10-15 minutes, not long at all. I didn't really time myself, but
very understandable.
There is a reason, like this game, like I played on the Genesis and I can't remember how hard it was, and it was hard on the Genesis, but I couldn't think how hard. But playing it on the NES emulator, if you want to call it that, it's just so unforgiving. That's the word you use for this game. It's so unforgiving.
Yes.
Like, even the first bit, I used the rewind feature so many times. And I'm thinking, you want a bad time? Play this game.
Yeah. Well, did you make it? How far? So you only played for, 15 minutes or so, but how far did you make it? How many levels were you able to accomplish?
I got through, like, the village with the platforms rising up and down. Then I got to the next bit. I don't know if that was, like, inside the castle or something.
Uh-huh.
A bit... bluish area platforms.
With like the sort of like angel devil things.
Yeah.
Flying down and then at you.
Yeah.
Did you make it past that little section?
There was a part where it's like there's a massive house and you got these like demons throwing stuff below you.
Cyclops looking guys that are dropping rocks, and then like ladder system where you have to go up and around. Yeah.
That's it. Oh my God. That was frustrating. But yeah, I got past that and it was just the area.
You did?
After that. Yeah.
I couldn't get past it. Literally, like, that's how far I got. And I was like, I could not figure it out. Like, you can't attack those guys. I felt like I could never kill them.
I just spammed them, but even still, it just took a lot of rewind feature. And not even that bit, like the first bit in the level, you've got a jump. You've got, I guess his name is Firebird. He's swooping down and hitting you, but you also got to jump on these platforms, and he's like ghosts with shields as well. You got to duck and weave, and oh my God, that was really hard for me. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I really can't. I was going to give up, but then I continued on, managed to just get past it, but with a lot of rewinds. And then just the next bit the same, a lot of rewinds. But then when I got to started the other part, it was actually not too bad. I didn't rewind as much. But it didn't help when the jumping was terrible. I couldn't even jump properly in some bits as well. It was like jumping, but you wasn't going forward, and then sometimes you jump and then you go forward, or you over jump here. That was bad too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same for that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could not get past those cyclopsy looking guys that were dropping rocks, and because I could not seem to kill them with daggers before they ran at me.
Yeah.
And then I could occasionally like time jumping over them, but it was really hard. And yeah. This game is just brutally hard.
It's harder than Demon's Crest. I 100% would say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, Demon's Crest, like it's not like we talked about it on that episode, but it's not like the mobility in that game was great. And in fact, I complained a lot about not being able to duck, but you actually had a slightly more modern moveset. But this is just like a really awful jump. And like, you know what I mean? Like super precise jump.
Yeah. It's so brutal. So brutal. I don't know what else to say about this really, apart from just, I didn't have a fun time. I can see why it was frustrating back in the day. I don't think the Genesis one was that bad.
The Genesis one must have been like a sequel, right? Because this game had tons of sequels, like Ghouls and Ghosts and Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Maybe that's the one I played on the Genesis, was the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, like what was on that. Maybe it was just a port of this, for all I know. But
yeah, brutal. You won't have a fun time with this at all. And yeah. I would not go back to it. I probably will go back to it, but just not yet. Like when I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and do this, because it's something I've played in the past, but not on the NES version. Played at Sega Genesis, completely different. I think the one I played on Genesis was maybe a sequel, because I think it was Super Ghouls and Ghosts, because, or just the graphics were just like better or something, because I don't remember playing the graphics like this on the Sega Genesis. I think it was a bit. I think
the one on Genesis was Ghouls and Ghosts, which sounds very familiar, but or very similar, but yeah. Super Ghouls and Ghosts was a specific one on the Nintendo, I think. I know this now from looking this up, but yeah, this game doesn't look or sound that great either, because I mean, we don't expect a lot out of a mid 80s game, right? Like
it's just other things as well. It's like enemies, like you have to jump over tombstones in the first bit.
Right, but enemies can pass through it.
But they can pass through it. It's the same with the Cyclopses as well. I think there's walls that you can go past, but they can go through it. It's just like, hang on a second.
Yeah, that is some weird collision detection. Yeah, agreed. It's just not very modern in that way. And then just the controls are not modern. Like, like the game feel of the 2D feels super old and clunky, and so it's not very fun to go back to. It's like, it's not, again, this, like, I hate to like harp on this, but Super Mario Bros. Or, you know what I mean? Like, or Mario Bros, whatever the first one was called, Super Mario Brothers, has really great feel. Like, it's not, it still feels a little old, but like they've perfected it maybe in some of the more modern 2D Marios, but like that game is older than this, you know what I mean? And I think the jumping and the controls do not feel as tight.
No.
And a lot of early platformers didn't feel this as tight as Mario. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rant about that a lot. Sorry.
If you want like an overall feel to this game, I can give it to you. So it's a hard game anyway, but the jumping doesn't feel right.
Nope.
Enemies pass through walls, and you've got like 3 or 4 enemies at you at once at one point sometimes. I don't know if you must have gone past the shield bit I was talking about. So you've got like Firebird, you've got to jump over like these rivers, but also you've got to dodge the ghost shield people at the same time. And but even Firebird, I managed to kill him, but eventually, but if I jumped, he still hit me. If I ducked, he still got me. So it's like, well, what do? I can't.
Yeah.
I have to like run backwards or something and then dodge.
You have to be perfect in this game. It demands perfection.
Yeah.
And even with the modern rewind feature added onto this, it still feels way too hard.
Yes.
This is the king of, I'm sorry, Demon's Crest, Wild Guns, whatever. This is the king of rewind feature. There's no way to play this game without that unless you want to just dedicate the rest of your life to it.
I mean, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, I keep using a rewind feature, and even that didn't help me. You know, it maybe helped a little, but he, like the Firebird, he would, no matter what I do, jump, got me, ducked, jump, whatever, he just would kill me no matter what I do. So I think the only way to stand a chance with this is that you use the rewind feature, because you only get 2 hits with this game as well. You get hit once. Well, first of all, you got armor. You get hit once, your armor comes off, and you get hit again. Then your skin falls off, and you turn into a skeleton. So,
yeah,
I recommend using the rewind feature if you get hit at least once, because that's how hard it is.
Yeah. So two things I want to point out from the Wikipedia article about this game. One of them is that apparently, and I would never have known this, is after you defeat the final boss, then the game restarts on a higher difficulty level.
Yeah.
And if you beat that, you get the quote unquote genuine final ending.
Yeah. I think I told you this last week. Yeah. I never knew that, but I don't think I've ever completed it. So that gives you...
Oh, fuck, no. You know, like, and then listen to this too. This is a random Wikipedia article, so like whatever, but this game is often cited as an example of one of the most difficult games of all times. Which definitely feels like, and it mentions specifically in that the fact that it's just a 2-hit kill, like and just the enemies, the way they spawn, it's kind of like Kid Icarus, where they just keep spawning.
Oh yeah, that was annoying too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
In a modern game, you're used to like an enemy spawning, you dispatch it, and then you're fine, right? But in this game, like, you have to keep moving forward, kind of like Kid Icarus. I mean, so some of these older games where like you can't just like relax. You know what I mean? You can't be like, I will kill that enemy and take a breath. There's no time for breathing.
Yeah, it's like they threw everything that's hard with a game into this game. So you've got the Kid Icarus, infinite respawn enemies. You have, as I said, passing through walls and everything else. Hitboxes are completely whack. It's just, just everything from a hard game is in this game to make it harder. And then, as I said, I think we talked about this last week as well. If you complete the game, which is hard enough as it is, it will get even harder when you have to go through it again to get the trend in.
Screw that. Well, I think we thoroughly mentioned how hard this game is, which is the main point. Anything else? Like, I mean, the graphics are okay for the time, I guess. You know, like, it doesn't look great now. I don't know. The music isn't that great either. Again, can't forget. Can't blame them for it being as old as it is, but.
For me, it was kind of like, because I thought maybe it was the same sort of one, and I think it is the same sort of one. Like, obviously, Sega Genesis, I played, didn't play this one, but when I saw the graphics, I was like, oh, okay, it looks older than Sega Genesis one. So I don't know what one I played on the Sega Genesis.
I'm gonna guess that it's Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, so, but yeah, no, I was kind of shocked, but also, I noticed, going back to the controls, that you can't actually aim up. Yeah. Which in other Ghouls and Ghosts you can.
Oh, right.
Aim up. So
yeah, that's definitely hard on this too, is this that you really have to like line up the enemies, and some of them are coming from above, and it's so hard. Well, I think we should move on unless there's anything else you want to say about that. I think it's pretty obvious how we feel about it based on what we said. But
if you just want to play a rage-inducing game, play that, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't recommend it, and if you do play it, I don't even think the rewind feature, like, the only way you're going to move forward is using that, Yeah. And even then it still is.
It's still difficult even with that. So,
yeah. So Kirby's Dream Course is our other game. This is on the Super Nintendo app, and it came out in 1994 or 1995, depending on the region. And then this is an interesting game. It's sort of like a mini golf game, or like a, I don't know,
Yeah.
Sort of like, I guess just to describe it, right? And correct me or if I miss anything. You control Kirby, and you kind of have a meter, and you point him in a direction, and you can either sort of on the ground roll Kirby or kind of launch Kirby up in the air, and you try to get rid of enemies, and then the last enemy you get rid of makes the hole that you have to roll Kirby into. So it's kind of it's not just like a set course. You kind of have to use some strategy in terms of which enemy you want to do last. And there are some, I never really got very far into this, to be honest, but my understanding from reading about it is there's some power up and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of tomatoes or whatever they're called.
Yeah. So how about you start us off? How far did you get on this? How much time did you spend on it?
Again, it's like 10, 15 minutes, not a very long. It's just because I just found it difficult.
Yes.
Like, it not obviously not as difficult as the last game we just talked about, but it's just like the overall controls, like where to hit Kirby, I guess. You're not hitting a ball, you're hitting Kirby.
Once again, real quick to interject, looking at the Wikipedia article about it, quote, some were critical of its high difficulty level and controls. What you just hammered home right there. Yeah.
Yeah, its controls are very tedious as well, because you've got it's kind of like you press left and right and it goes only a certain way, and then you press down and up, and then you've got more options, but it's just the aiming system's so weird in it. It's just so weird, and I didn't enjoy it. That's why I played so little of it. Just because, like, I kept failing because of the amount of shots I was taking as well. I mean, I could just suck,
right.
but
no, I think it's to your point about the controls. Like, I mean, well, first off, I played about the same amount of time as you, and I found the difficulty. Like, I actually think this is a pretty cool game, and like really interesting, and like aesthetically looks nice, and like, in theory is kind of a fun. I like mini golf games, and it's a fun twist on it. But you're right that it is hard, and controls are tough. And I think the controls are tough, period. But they're made especially tough by the inclination to want to use the joystick for the reason you just described. That left and right do one thing, and up and down, and it doesn't feel intuitive on a joystick.
No,
I don't think it feels intuitive on a D-pad either. But for some reason, probably a little bit better on a D-pad. Because it feels like what you're saying, you should just be able to rotate in a 360 degrees, right?
Yeah.
And then like maybe push a button or something to alternate between up and down, or the launching and the rolling. I don't know.
Yeah, because like left and right, they do left and right to a certain point, but then when you press up and down, that does kind of like more left and right as well. So it's just really, it's really confusing.
Yeah, it is unintuitive. It does not. I found myself multiple times, like you're saying, like doing the thing I think would make it go a direction, and then finding that was switching the wrong, toggling the like up and I don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it. And it was just hard. Like I tried it twice, like, and I kind of forgot about the rewind feature or the save states, because the first few levels, it's like, oh, this is fun, I'm in a groove, you know what I mean? Like, and oh, maybe I make a mistake or two and whatever, but no big deal. And then you get to like the, I don't know, third or fourth level, and it's like this starts to be a little more challenging. And then at some point you're like, this is hard.
Yeah.
And like, I need to start over and use save states.
Yeah, no, it's, I said, not as hard as
no.
Ghosts and Goblins, but it has its moments.
Yeah.
And with me, I just didn't find it fun, because like you've got like a set amount of shots as well.
Yes,
which makes sense, but I don't know. It's just
the set amount of shots doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
it feels like an old game legacy problem. That, you know what I mean? Like, with the rewind feature, you can kind of fix that, but you can't really because like, I don't know. You know, you might want. It's like you can't start the course over. You can save after every shot. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel. It feels like it should be more like golf, right? Where you just get a bad score.
Yeah.
if it takes you 10 turns or whatever.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head when you said about yourself you forgot about the rewind feature on this, and I was exactly the same. I forgot about the rewind feature, but then it doesn't make much difference anyway. I guess it's before you take a shot. But I would say this game is probably like there's games I don't think I've even used the rewind feature. I can't remember if I have said that, but this is probably one of the games that I use a rewind feature like not at all, hardly at all.
Yeah, I didn't use it much until like I decided like, okay, after I beat a level, I'm going to save it. Because it's kind of like you said, you can rewind and retake a shot, but sometimes it's like you'd still run out of, you know what I mean? Unless you get the perfect, it just was, at some point it kind of became too tedious. And apparently this game has 8 different courses, and if they get harder, I can only imagine they get harder, right? And I didn't really make it past the first one, so I don't know. I like the game, and maybe if you spend some time with it, maybe you get used to it, right? Like I definitely at first I found putting really hard, like getting Kirby into the hole to be frustrating, like to get that feel of how much on this meter you need to do for a short shot, or to like get your so the more you do it, the better you get. But I like you said, it's like I found it really fun at first, and then just frustrating to the point where I was ready to give up.
Yeah. Yeah, I said good concepts, but just I didn't find it like fun because of the amount of shots you've got, and I didn't really get any good shots in, so I was like literally taking up all my shots and then starting again. I was just like, I don't think I can handle this.
Yeah. But I think the game looks nice.
Yeah.
It's got a nice look, and I like the music, and I was a little concerned for the first like 4 or 5 courses because it's the same music. I was like, well, this might get annoying. And then around, I think, maybe course 5 or something, it switched to a different song, and I was like, okay, we're good. I like the songs when there's variety.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Kirby's cute, and I guess it has an interesting mechanic that also I feel like you could get good at if you played it a lot, where you can make Kirby expand, right? After you shoot Kirby, you can kind of like bounce off things, but if you time it right, pushing B, where he kind of like puffs up a little bit.
All right.
And there were 1 or 2 times where I was able to use that to my advantage, but
so you can use you press another button to make him puff up, did you say?
Yeah, so like you can line Kirby up and then roll him, and then you're not done. You can push a button and he kind of like puffs up just a tiny little bit. And so like if you do that when you're maybe hitting a wall or hitting or it can make you a little bigger so that you can actually hit an enemy if you were not going to, but right next to them. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a nice little mechanic, but it's also like one that's going to take a little bit of time to master. You know what I mean? Like it was mostly not helpful, but it's like I could see how this would be helpful with more practice. Only 1 or 2 times did it help me.
Will we see this in Forgotten World?
A nice little mini game somewhere in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Like an arcade game of this.
Yeah, go to an arcade machine that's still functioning.
I think this is a cool game and concept, just a little bit more difficult. And it's that sort of lives system that I don't like in old games, where it's like it just makes it punishingly not fun to have to restart. A golf game, you should just be able to have a bad score.
Yeah.
Right? And then maybe like, I don't know, maybe you can't progress to the next course or something until you get par, instead of just you die.
Yeah. And again, no tutorial.
Yeah.
To help you, and going back to Ghosts and Goblins, it's the same as well. You just get thrown into it, no difficulty setting or no tutorial or anything.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good point too. Like modern games do it really well, where they have the first few levels be easy and teach you how to play the game. And this game seems like it's going to do that. Like the first level is really easy. And you know what I mean? And then you get to a level with a little bit of gradation and you start to learn that. But then it kind of throws you at like warp boxes and water boxes and like all this stuff all at once. And it's hard enough to just get Kirby to go up a hill and like stop on the top of it. You know what I mean? Like, and not roll back down or roll. Like I needed a little bit more easing into these difficult challenges.
Yeah.
But I guess that's it. I definitely feel like, whereas on the Ghosts and Goblins, I really don't recommend. There's no point in playing that game unless you're a super fan of the series and you were around in the arcades in the 80s and have some nostalgia for it or something. But like otherwise, it's just too difficult, too janky of old controls, not pretty. You know what I mean? Like, not worth it. There's more modern. There's lots of sequels to it, so you could probably find one that is probably still very hard, but a little bit easier.
I mean, the new Ghosts and Goblins is out on the Switch, so
yeah, and it's probably hard because that's what that series is known for. But it's probably got a lot better quality of life and more modern controls. But Kirby's Dream Course is worth checking out. I feel like it's worth messing around with and like. Because it might hook you and make you want to push through to get good at it. But remember the rewind feature. Remember save states when you start it, and like save at the beginning of each level. And like if you get a good shot, rewind when you get the next one that's not. I don't know. That might make it more palatable.
Yeah, be kind, rewind. When you start level, as you said, save it. Make sure you save it because there's a difference between rewinding and save if you guys don't know. So if you hold, you can rewind. If you just press it, then you get like the game, like create a save point, which definitely think you should if you want to play.
Yes,
I forgot the name.
Kirby's Dream Course.
Kirby's Dream Course, Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins. Don't play that one, folks.
If you do,
and don't expect that you will fall in love with Kirby's Dream Course either. Maybe at least, you might, but like, it's worth a 10-minute adventure to see if it's worth more of your time.
Yeah, if you just want to challenge with Ghosts and Goblins, just go for it. But if you're a pro gamer.
Well, anything else about the week or either of these games you want to make sure to mention before we pick our new one?
So this week, that's what I said, it was just like okay. It's like, you got like two hard games, but in a different sense. You got a really just extremely hard game. There's no way you can complete it, probably, if you just want to keep at it, and just a game that's just hard where the controls are a bit just awkward.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it, even though it was more enjoyable than Ghosts and Goblins, I didn't really enjoy it, if that makes sense. It's just a bit, I don't know.
That makes sense. I felt like both of these games were games I felt like 10-15 minutes was about all I needed.
Yeah, that's same. That's why I didn't play them for very long too.
Well, then let's give us our countdown, and I will run the random number generator here.
Cool. Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's play it wrong.
All right. So we've got for the NES versus Excitebike.
Okay.
Is that just Excitebike, or is that like a different version? That's like the different version of Excitebike, right?
What, versus Excitebike?
Yeah, VS Excitebike.
So does it mean it's 2-player?
I don't know. I don't know, but it's some alternate version of Excitebike. I think that it was never released in America, or maybe a sequel or something, or a multi. Yeah, I don't know. And Super Soccer for the SNES.
No.
Super Soccer is like the generic soccer game.
Oh no, because like the sports games, you know how I'm with sports games. It's just
I know, but I figured like soccer, football.
No,
you're in. You live in England, like it's football. Yeah, it's fair. I don't like American football, but I do kind of like soccer, or football, as they call it over there, or they're everywhere else.
I did like football / soccer, but I was put in goal to help my friend with his football skills. That's why I didn't like it, because I was like, "Oh right, now it's your turn to go." No, I don't want to go in goal. Well, there we go. They put me off. And England always loses, so.
Well, so I'm trying to look up what like versus Excitebike is real quickly. I think you're right. So it has 2-player split screen. And I think it's like, otherwise I don't know what the deal is, what's different. But it looks like it was on the Famicom Disk System.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just like a multiplayer version, mostly. We'll have to play against each other online.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to that. Next week we'll come back for versus Excitebike and Super Soccer.
Cool. Let's do it.
Thanks for listening to Playing It Wrong. This podcast is a collaboration between Super Switchheads and AntKeepsGaming. Check out the weekly Super Switchheads podcast, and also check out AntKeepsGaming on YouTube. Our music is provided by Bent Neatly. Thanks again. Bye.